इसराइल पर हमास ने बहुत बड़ा हमला किया, जिसके बाद इसराइल ने अपनी जवाबी कार्रवाई शुरू कर दी है और अब हमास के खिलाफ इसराइल की तरफ से भी मिलिट्री एक्शन लिया जा रहा है। इस बीच क्या है वहां के हालात, इस पर बात करने के लिए हमारे साथ एक्सक्लूसिवली इसराइल से भारत में इसराइल के पूर्व राजदूत एम्बेसडर डैनियल कैरमन जुड़ रहे हैं। मैं उनसे सीधे बात करता हूं। मेनी थैंक्स एम्बेसडर फॉर ज्वाइनिंग मी इन सच डिफिकल्ट period. I totally understand that it is difficult, but we appreciate that you joined us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. It is, we're going through very, very tough days. As a matter of fact, I'm speaking to you now from my safe room. I don't know if you can see the window behind me, totally closed. This is how we act when we are under attack. Israel is under attack for the past 30 hours by a terrorist organization that during the last few years has gained the military strength. It has become an army of itself. It has a regime that governs Gaza for a few years now, and very surprising, fierce attack, which is we are in a state of war. We are in a state of war with the terrorist organization, and what they have succeeding in doing in the last 30 hours is really unprecedented.
Ambassador, you have our support. Prime Minister Modi had also expressed his support for people of Israel while he tweeted. You just mentioned, Ambassador, that you are locked in a safe room. Are you in Tel Aviv, sir, or can you please let me know where exactly are you in Israel?
Well, I'm in the Tel Aviv area. I'm not locked in a safe room, but from time to time we have to be in a safe room when sirens sound. We haven't had sirens in the past few hours, but in the last 24 hours, me and my family had to run to the shelter, to this safe room that you are hosts in 4 times. We hear the siren, we run to the safe room, we close the door almost hermetically, we wait for 10 minutes. This is the protocol. For 10 minutes after we hear the Iron Dome intercepting the rocket that was launched over our region, and after 10 minutes we can go out, but we have to stay very close by the safe room. And I have all my office here now. I have a place to rest, we have water, we have food, and we are ready for a prolonged stay. But what we are having here is nothing compared to our co-patriots in the south, because what has happened in the past 24 hours in the south of Israel, in something like a dozen or more localities, villages, and towns, is a massacre. A massacre by terrorists who have killed, the number is not final, but it's something around 300 people, has wounded.
So, Ambassador Saab, I just wanted to ask you, how far is Israel going to avenge this then?
Well, I'm not talking about avenging. We have experienced in the last few years few rounds of hostilities with the Hamas organization. It has always ended one way or the other in some kind of an arrangement or an agreement or something. This time will be different. This time it's not only an arrangement or an agreement or something or a strategic calm from both sides, not at all. This time, after regaining control, because there are 3 to 4 localities within the territory of Israel which are still, there is a suspicion that there are still terrorists there. After we regain control on those 3-4 localities, we will reverse the initiative, and this time the Israeli response, I'm not talking about avenging, I'm talking about the response will change the situation will change. What we had until now will be no more. And the Hamas organization, who has declared war on Israel, will learn a lesson that with Israel, nobody plays with Israel. This is the message that the terrorist organization and the people of Gaza who support Hamas, I'm not talking about the people who do not support Hamas.
Okay.
The people who support Hamas in Gaza will understand once and for all that we don't play with Israel.
Ambassador, do you suspect that Iran is probably behind this attack? Maybe this was carried out with an active support of Iran. Any suspicion to that effect?
I don't want to speculate. There could be many reasons. Hamas is giving one reason. There are many speculations, but there is one thing is certain. Without Iran, there is no Hamas. Iran finances, Iran trains, Iran gives the general idea, usually gives the...
because we saw yesterday the pictures, sir, the people were out on streets, on roads of Iran celebrating the Hamas attack against Israel. So that is why I'm asking you this question.
Unfortunately, in Iran and in other places which are enemies of Israel, as opposed to many Arab countries with which we have peace agreements and normalization, you would see this in many places, unfortunately. But I want to repeat, Iran, without Iran, there is no Hamas. Iran backs maybe this particular war is not directly connected with Iran, but Iran is always on the background. Iran is always on the background of what Hamas does. So without overstating or understating, because I do not have proof neither to that nor to the other,
okay.
Iran is always behind Hamas. We have to understand Iran is beyond Hamas in the south. Iran is beyond and very much helpful to Hezbollah in the north. And Israel is in a state of war, and in war we will act like in war. You mentioned...
Ambassador, we saw countries like Qatar, Saudi Arabia coming out in support of Palestine. And we have the countries like superpower America, France, and the other Western nations supporting Israel. So kind of world order is divided. Are we heading into a world war kind of a situation, sir?
One thing is to support the Palestinian people, which is one thing. I haven't heard, except for Iran, as you mentioned, I haven't heard support to this aggressive attack.
No, sir. There are statements, Ambassador, from Qatar, from Pakistan, from Saudi Arabia. As I said, I mean, those are reflecting. They are very clearly, they are saying that they support the pre-1967 kind of settlement for Palestine. They are supporting the Palestine cause here.
I'm not an advocate to whoever is declaring what. We're talking about a very grave situation, an attack on Israel, a massacre that took place, more than 100 probably people who were taken hostages into the territory of Gaza. We're talking about almost 2,000 people wounded, many of them critically wounded, and we are talking about 300 people dead, killed.
So you have the challenge on you to get them back, sir. You think Israel will be able to do that?
There is a challenge to get them back. There is a challenge to try to not to have other fronts being open. And just an hour ago, there was mortar shelling from the north from Hezbollah. And if I'm not mistaken, Hezbollah took responsibility to this, which is something to look at and to be very, very careful. But what we are seeing in the south is a human tragedy made by Hamas terrorist organization, and the world should understand Israel is under attack. Israel has the right to self-defense, and at war, like in war, Israel will repeat. I repeat, Israel will act, and Israel will respond.
Ambassador, just
we do
one last question, sir. If you
Just one more thing,
Yeah.
if I may, one more thing. You mentioned the support that we got by Prime Minister Modi, who really wrote a very clear and very positive support to Israel in solidarity in this very grave situation. I must tell you that I got personally hundreds of messages of support, not to speak about the hundreds of thousands of tweets of support from the Indian people, and we are very, very grateful for that.
Well, we stand with you, sir. Just one last question. There are questions being raised, Ambassador, about the intelligence failure. I mean, Mossad, is taken as one of the finest intelligence agencies across the world. What happened, sir? Do you think it's an intelligence failure that resulted into such a big Hamas attack over Israel?
Well, I think there are a few levels of failure. Not Mossad, by the way. Mossad has other areas of concern, but our intelligence community has failed, and this is something that after the hostilities will be over, will be checked thoroughly. The army has failed because it could not and did not respond in appropriate way to an attack on a Saturday, which is our holiday. On a holiday, there was a combination of 2 days in which the preparedness, unfortunately, was not at its best, to say the least. And I think there is also a long-time failure by the fact that the policy, and this is, I'm saying not as an Israeli ambassador, but as an Israeli citizen, a concerned citizen, during the last few years, Hamas was strengthened, indirectly strengthened at the expense of weakening the Palestinian Authority. Instead of strengthening the Palestinian Authority, and because they're adversaries, instead of strengthening the Palestinian Authority and weakening Hamas, for some reason the policy was the reverse, and this is one more failure. So I would say a leadership and a political failure, a military failure, and an intelligence failure, which will be checked at the end of those hostilities. But first, we have to finish the hostilities. Israel can respond and will respond, and we will see the results very soon.
But thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining me here. I understand that it is very difficult period for all the Israelis there. As I said, Prime Minister Modi has already outlined, you have our support, and we just hope that this settles down sooner as possible. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.